Ethical Media presents companion material for the book Saul, David, and Solomon, Lessons in Faith, written by Sheila McDade. Part 4, Samuel anointed Saul. 1 Samuel chapter 8. And it came to pass, when Samuel was old, that he made his sons judges over Israel. Now the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second Abiah, and they were judges in Beersheba. And Samuel's sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after lucre, and took bribes, and perverted judgment. Samuel lived in Ramah. His grown sons were judges in Beersheba, which was quite a distance away. Thus they were not under his direct influence, and they strayed. Archaeology in the Bible. The archaeological site of ancient Beersheba lies a few miles east of the modern city of Beersheba. The ancient ruins of Beersheba reveal streets laid out in a grid in an elaborate water system with a huge cistern. It had an abundance of water, for besides the cistern beneath the city, it had numerous wells in the area. These ruins also confirm the biblical account of Abraham and Isaac digging wells there. Then all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together, and came to Samuel in Ramah, and said unto him, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, Give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Samuel, Hearken unto the voice of the people in all that they say unto thee. For they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. Howbeit yet protest solemnly unto them, and show them the manner of king that shall reign over them. Samuel told the people God's warning, that when they have a king, they would soon have enough of him, and that it would be too late to change their mind. He warned them that a king would rule with cruelty, and that he will take your sons to serve his army, take your daughters to be cooks, take your crops to make himself rich, take your servants and your animals. And ye shall cry out in that day because of your king which ye have chosen you, and the Lord will not hear you in that day. Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel, and they said, Nay, but we will have a king over us, that we may be like all the nations, and that our king may judge us, and go out before us, and fight our battles. And Samuel heard all the words of the people, and he rehearsed them in the ears of the Lord. And the Lord said to Samuel, Hearken unto their voice, and make them a king. And Samuel said unto the men of Israel, Go ye every man into his city. 1 Samuel chapter 9. Now there was a man of Benjamin, whose name was Kish, a Benjamite, a mighty man of power. And he had a son whose name was Saul, a choice young man and a goodly. And there was not among the children of Israel a goodlier person than he. From his shoulders and upward, he was higher than any of the people. Saul was married and had children, yet lived in his father's house and was subject to him. His son Jonathan would one day be best friends with David, the next king. And the asses of Kish, Saul's father, were lost. It seems the ass, or donkey, was much more esteemed than the horse in ancient times, especially white ones. Deborah sings in her song of triumph, Speak ye that ride on white asses, ye that sit in judgment and walk by the way. Judges chapter 5, verse 10. Little is said of Jair, a judge of Israel, but it is said that he had 30 sons that rolled on 30 ass colts. Judges 10, verse 4. Little is said of Abdon, a judge of Israel also, but it does say he had 40 sons and 30 nephews that rode on 70 ass colts. Judges 12, verse 14. And the asses of Kish, Saul's father, were lost. And Kish said to Saul his son, Take now one of the servants with thee, and arise, go seek the asses. And he passed through Mount Ephraim, and passed through the land of Shalisha, but they found them not. Then they passed through the land of Shalom, and there they were not. And he passed through the land of the Benjamites, but they found them not. And Saul said to his servant that was with him, "Come and let us return, lest my father leave caring for the asses and take thought for us." The servant said that they should ask the advice of a prophet he knew of in the near city, but Saul said they didn't have anything to give him for his help. And the servant answered Saul again and said, "Behold, I have here at hand the fourth part of a shekel of silver. That I will give to the man of God to tell us our way." Then said Saul to his servant, "Well said. Come, let us go." So they went into the city where the man of God was. The servant had heard of Samuel, but Saul had not. Saul was from Gibeah, not 20 miles from Ramah, where Samuel dwelt. Yet it seems Saul had lived so privately and had taken so little notice of the matters of Israel that he did not know of Samuel, the renowned prophet, priest, and judge. As they came near the city, there were young maidens drawing water at a well. Saul and his servant asked them if the prophet was there, and they directed them to Samuel, who was about to make a sacrifice. And they went up into the city, and when they were come into the city, behold, Samuel came out against them for to go up to the high place. God had told Samuel the day before that a man would come to him, and that he should anoint this man to be king. And when Samuel saw Saul, the Lord said unto him, "Behold the man whom I spake to thee of, this same shall reign over my people." Then Saul drew near to Samuel in the gate and said, "Tell me, I pray thee, where the seer's house is." And Samuel answered Saul and said, "I am the seer. Go up before me into the high place, for ye shall eat with me today, and tomorrow I will let thee go, and will tell thee all that is in thine heart. And as for thine asses that were lost 3 days ago, set not thy mind on them, for they are found." Notice how humble a man Samuel was. He had no attendants, no special clothing. He was going to sacrifice, yet he appeared to be a common person. Saul did not realize he was a prophet, priest, and judge, but asked him the way to the prophet's house. And Saul answered and said, "Am not I a Benjamite of the smallest of the tribes of Israel, and my family the least of all the families of the tribe of Benjamin? Wherefore then speakest thou so to me?" Saul was surprised that Samuel, a great man of God, treated him with such honor. But he must have been relieved to hear his father's asses had been found. Samuel took Saul with him to the high place in Ramah and offered a sacrifice. Then they ate a meal together. Eli's sons had profaned the tabernacle. The Ark of the Covenant was not there, and the altar of sacrifice no longer had the reputation it formerly had, nor were they confined to it, as they would be when God had again chosen a place in which to put his name, and therefore sacrifices were made at other places. Psalm 78, verse 60, "He forsook the tabernacle at Shiloh, the tent which he had placed among them." God spoke to Samuel. The actual Hebrew phrase is "uncovered his ear," and God had revealed to Samuel that Saul was coming, so Samuel had prepared, and he told the cook to make a special meal and invited about 30 chief men of the city. After the meal, Samuel brought Saul to his home. Samuel felt rejected because the people wanted a king. Yet he did not bear ill will toward Saul. He honored him and welcomed him to his table and to his home because it was the will of God. And when they were come down from the high place into the city, Samuel communed with Saul upon the top of the house. And they rose early, and it came to pass about the spring of the day that Samuel called Saul to the top of the house, saying, "Up, that I may send thee away." And Saul arose, and they went out both of them, he and Samuel, abroad. And as they were going down to the end of the city, Samuel said to Saul, "Bid the servant pass on before us." And he passed on. "But stand thou still a while, that I may show thee the word of God." 1 Samuel chapter 10. Then Samuel took a vial of oil, and poured it upon his head, and kissed him, and said, Is it not because the Lord hath anointed thee to be captain over his inheritance? Samuel gave Saul 3 signs that would come to pass that day. These signs showed that he was a true prophet and confirmed that Saul would be king. Samuel said to Saul, When thou art departed from me today, then thou shalt find 2 men by Rachel's sepulchre in the border of Benjamin at Zelzah. And they will say unto thee, The asses which thou wentest to seek are found. And lo, thy father hath left the care of the asses, and sorroweth for you, saying, What shall I do for my son? Then thou shalt go forward from thence, and thou shalt come to the plain of Tabor. And there shall meet thee 3 men going up to God to Bethel, one carrying 3 kids, and another carrying 3 loaves of bread, and another carrying a bottle of wine. And they will salute thee, and give thee 2 loaves of bread, which thou shalt receive at their hand. After that thou shalt come to the hill of God, where is the garrison of the Philistines. And it shall come to pass, when thou art come thither to the city, that thou shalt meet a company of prophets coming down from the high place with a psaltery and a tabret and a pipe and a harp before them, and they shall prophesy. And the Spirit of the Lord will come upon thee, and thou shalt prophesy with them, and shalt be turned into another man. And let it be, when these signs are come to thee, that thou do as occasion serve thee, for God is with thee, and thou shalt go before me to Gilgal. And behold, I will come down unto thee to offer burnt offerings and to sacrifices of peace offerings. 7 days shalt thou tarry, till I come to thee, and show thee what thou shalt do. And it was so, that when he had turned his back to go from Samuel, God gave him another heart, and all those signs came to pass that day. Saul told his family that Samuel told him the asses were found, but did not tell them Samuel anointed him or the signs he saw on the way home. Then Samuel called the people together at Mizpah, and told them the king would be from the tribe of Benjamin. Mizpah means watchtower, and is thought to be near Ramah, which is in the tribe of Benjamin. Saul was from Gibeah, Samuel lived in Ramah. Therefore they inquired of the Lord further if the man should yet come thither. And the Lord answered, Behold, he hath hid himself among the stuff. And they ran and fetched him thence. And when he stood among the people, he was higher than any of the people from his shoulders and upward. Why did he hide? Did he consider himself unfit to rule? Was he afraid he would fail? Did he think the people might reject him? Was it because he knew God did not want a king? Or was he afraid because Israel had so many enemies? And Samuel said to all the people, See ye whom the Lord hath chosen, that there is none like him among all the people. And the people shouted and said, God save the king. Then Samuel told the people the manner of the kingdom, and wrote it in a book, and laid it up before the Lord. And Samuel sent all the people away, every man to his house. And Saul also went home to Gibeah. And there went with him a band of men whose hearts God had touched. But the children of Belial said, How shall this man save us? And they despised him, and brought him no presents, but he held his peace. Belial means wicked. Did they despise Saul because he was not rich and famous, or just because they didn't get to choose who would serve as their king? Saul did not react to the men of Belial who despised him. He exhibited humility, but this trait would not last. He becomes more and more self-willed.